So believe it or not, there are some people who believe that ethics has no place in the arts or Butoh. And this can be very problematic because where do you draw the line? Who are you hurting? If anything goes, are you hurting little children? Something of what we experienced this past September, as I show in a prior video. This past September, our Butoh teacher, who I have been associated with for the past 6 years, confessed to being a pedophile and a child molester. So this raised a lot of questions for me. It made me start asking about ethical questions in the arts. If we are not drawing the line anywhere, then is this just an excuse to get away with something unethical or even criminal? So here is a recent example of somebody who feels that the artist and the action of the artist should be separate. This one comes from Mushimaru Fujiwara. Hi Adam. We are the artists, and I'm also Lee's friend. So I'll meet him and dance there. Just I will do it. Where is the problem with that? And I'll tell you the problem with that. If you have a gig at the Sub-Body Butoh School, then that means you are supporting the Sub-Body Butoh School. And at this school is where 3 victims got molested by Rhizome Lee. And other students, these weren't students, these were children, but students have also come forward and said that Lee touched them inappropriately. So the problem is, yes, you are supporting Sub-Body Butoh School if you are encouraging that facility to keep running. And here's another quote from Mushimaru. Humans have different propensities. I think it's dangerous to judge a person's personality with just one propensity. But the thing is, this propensity is child molestation. Sorry, but I will judge you if you sexually abuse children. So I started thinking, can there be some type of universal ethics that we can use in Butoh? I mean, we already covered this, separating the artist from the art, or the artist from the individual. In Rhizome Lee's case, yes, he is an artist and he is a teacher, but it is a big conflict of interest if you're having a teacher who has this history of pedophilia and sexually molesting little children. I don't know who would want to have this as a teacher. So the second point we can raise is about consent. So in the school there have been moments where people haven't kept their hands to themselves, where there were sexually suggestive touching. And you know, this all goes back to consent and keeping your hands to yourself, like what you learned in grade school. Consent is grounded on the modern trauma-informed pedagogical ideal of foremost facilitating a safe environment to practice in or observe. This involves developing communication skills within the space. For teachers, I would recommend always going on the side of consent. Always ask if a certain type of touch or certain type of invading of the space is okay. You know, it always doesn't hurt. Just because we don't know where people are coming from. We don't know the traumas that people are going through. We don't want to inadvertently cross people's boundaries. We want to make sure to communicate and use consent when possible. Also, you might want to consider the relationship between the audience and the performer. You also don't want to cross boundaries or cross consent with the audience. This happens sometimes where the performer may go into the audience and touch, and we don't actually know if the audience is wanting this. So my recommendation is maybe beforehand, some way, ask some sort of permission to do this, because really we don't know where people are coming from, which traumas they have and all that. So just to be on the safe side, I would say also ask for consent first. And the next point I would like to address this idea of cultural appropriation in Butoh. Well, we all know that Butoh was influenced by a lot of the West, and a lot of different cultures. So already at the very beginning, it took from so many things. So this is a tough one. I'm in no clear stance with this myself. I just know to be aware where I'm dancing, because maybe it is okay to take on a certain element in one place, and maybe it is not okay in another place to do the same thing. So for this, I would just say be aware. I feel this question hasn't been raised too often. And yes, the Butoh, as the very beginnings of the Butoh, it was just borrowing from everything. So the next point I would like to address is animal cruelty. So at the very beginnings of Butoh, Tatsumi Hijikata actually killed a chicken in his performance. And there was another project he did with an artist named Hoso. And there was also some animal cruelty, some animal killings in that video. So yeah, I really feel that we should have this conversation about ethics in the arts, ethics in Butoh, because really it is not cool to hurt things, hurt people for the sake of art, I feel. Can't we have a sustainable type of Butoh, something nourishing and healthy? That is what I want to be associated with. This is why I left the school. I mean, I had all the incentives to stay at the Sub-Body Butoh school, but I left because it's not in my heart. It's not in my heart to step on people, to bury darkness, to be silent. It's not who I am. Okay, and if you want to add to this conversation about ethics in the arts or ethics in Butoh, definitely leave a comment in the comments section. I would definitely like to hear your perspective. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on keeping on in this Butoh world and trying not to hurt as many people along the way as I can, and always just being aware of these ethical questions.